Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
That's right. A company that is a clone of Binford Tools is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Back in the saddle, buddy.
We're back in the saddle again. Pretty good, right? I've been practicing.
Is that the Hey Dude theme song?
I don't know.
Do you know Hey Dude?
No, I don't.
All right, good way to start the new year.
Good way to go. We're picking up right where we left off, but it feels like forever since we've talked about home improvement.
Feels like forever since we've talked about anything. I called you yesterday after a couple of weeks away.
But you also didn't want to share anything with me.
I wasn't interested in talking about myself. I kind of wanted to know what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we talked, and now we're back, and we're going to be talking a lot more. But it was good to get away from home improvement. It was less good to get away from you. But that's just kind of how our schedules worked. How was Christmas? How was New Year's?
Yeah, it was good.
Everything else?
We went up to Michigan. It wasn't actually too cold. There was a couple days where it was, but one day it was in the 50s. So saw a lot of family. Got to see my nephew, who's about 6 months years old. Or six months years old. 6 months years old.
That's a cool way to start saying it.
I know. I'm just gonna keep doing
half
that.
a year's old.
1/12 of a half baker's dozen. We'll just say it like that. Somewhere.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, saw some friends, saw some family. New Year's we came back here, spent it with my in-laws, had a good dinner.
You didn't see me though.
Didn't see you,
and I was in the same state. So
yeah, but you were 2.5 hours away, and you weren't willing to come near me either.
I was in Mount Morris for a second.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Visiting my brother, but there was we did a lot of traveling over the course of 5 days, and
it's hard to hit everyone, you know.
I wish we could have made it work, but we'll make it work next time.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna have a yearly meetup in Florida in the winter, just like any good millennial company.
Yeah, it's a home podcast retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
going to be in St. Cloud.
Yes,
Jordan St. Cloud,
Metropolis. I watched a lot of football. We watched the Lions back their way into the playoffs, which is good.
We did. People are seemingly kind of disappointed in the Lions because they've ended on such a cold streak, but I'm just happy to be there. I think expectations for me coming in the season were quite low.
Yeah, I was thinking like 6 wins maybe. So
yeah, I at the 7-9 perhaps at best, and they won a lot of games, and whether they backed their way in or not, they still are in the playoffs, and they're playing a Seattle team that is the worst Seattle team of the last 4 or 5 years. So that there's something to be said for that. I'm not expecting a lot, but I am excited to be able to watch them Saturday night. They've only made the playoffs like 4 times in our entire lives, so I think we still ought to be celebrating that, no matter how much of a landslide or kind of a downturn they have going in the playoffs.
Perhaps that's the best way to watch the Lions, when you're just happy to be there and you can't really be let down.
Right. So, definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So,
Did you have a good break?
Yeah, it was good.
Still don't want to share any information.
It was a good break. I'm still on break. The semester picks up in a week or so. So yeah, I'm back here, and I'm rededicating myself to the podcast, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end with our listener mail when we open up that robust mailbag. But I'm happy to be back here, and this week we're talking groin pains. But before we get into the pains of Tim's groin, I think maybe I would like to have you cue those grunts.
Sure, it's all safe to me. Oh, no.
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
This week's bit of wisdom comes from the Tim Allen text, "I'm not really here." It comes from the chapter entitled 7. Scientists say of all the five senses, the sense of smell can trigger the most vivid and detailed memories. This is probably a holdover from our caveman days when fresh deer droppings meant lunch is close by. And unfortunately, the smell of saber-toothed tiger dung meant bummer. I know this works best for me, since just the smell of an old National Geographic magazine can bring back vivid memories of my first sexual experience. This has been your bit of wisdom.
Man, new year, same Tim. It's great.
I like that one. I think that was one of the better. I feel like I haven't laughed during a bit of wisdom in months. So
yeah, it was less out there and crazy for this book, which is good.
The chapter was very out there and very crazy. It starts with parallels being drawn between Teo Man and Tool Man, which is obviously very good. And then he tells an anecdote about a time in college when a buddy of his, they kind of sat together and communicated for 3 hours without actually speaking.
Wow, so, just a lot.
And there were no illicit substances involved.
Wow,
he makes that clear. So
that's a lot to unpack in just one chapter.
Yeah. Do you buy that? I've heard that before. People say that if you just like stare at someone long enough, or you're just like on the right wavelength, how you can communicate without talking.
I think.
Do you believe in that? Do you believe in that stuff at all?
I think body language could be a way to communicate, but I don't. Not. Are you talking about like?
He says in this that they're like words and phrases are being exchanged simply using the conscious or subconscious or whatever bullshit science he's trying to.
Sounds like you believe in it.
To parlay in this text. I don't know. I just don't know what to make of that stuff. I think
I'm just not going to buy it.
I think you can make yourself believe about anything, but
I definitely believe that.
The fact that him and his pal are just like communicating via just their minds, I don't know. Especially when you kind of take into account what we know Tim was doing during college, which is of course public record at this point. Yeah, it becomes even harder to believe. But
it seems a bit far-fetched, but
I think so.
That's the way it is. But that was a good whiz, Tim, to start off 2017. I look forward to many more caveman references and drug references and whatever else.
The caveman references. That's about in every chapter.
Exactly.
At this point. So
yeah. So I guess we'll get into episode 28, Groin Pains, or I like to call it a bunch of Nana jokes, because there are quite a few in that one. Written by Howard J. Morris, and this is his first episode of Home Improvement. He does 18 total, but this will be his first, aired October 7th, 1992. We don't have any guest stars or anything, so I'm going to hop into the plot synopsis, which is mercifully written by Bernie, which means no Tony Topola, and only like 3 sentences. So it should be an easier one on me. Alright, so Tim lifts a heavy load of books after Jill tells him not to, and pulls a groin muscle. He tries to hide the injury from Jill. Also, Randy has the lead in the Peter Pan's show at school, but there is no apparatus to help him fly. Tim builds one. Thanks, Bernie.
I think you meant to say he tries to hid the injury from Jill. According to the type, it's hid as opposed to hide. So.
Oh, sorry. How dare I correct that?
Plot keywords this week: trunk, series and series, neighbor, marriage, groin injury. There you go.
I forgot that you were doing that, and I'm very glad.
That's my new thing. I like trunk in particular. I can imagine that is a robust entry into the plot keyword vault with trunk. Just lots of different things.
Trunks. What's
another TV show or movie that you think has a trunk in it? A prominent trunk. Can you think of anything?
A prominent trunk.
I can think of one thing.
What are you thinking of?
The Goonies. I feel like in the beginning of the Goonies, they're up in that attic, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'm making this up, but they bust open a trunk and they find that treasure map, and that's kind of what starts the whole journey. It's the call to adventure, if you will.
Perhaps the Pirates of the Caribbean.
That was another one I was thinking of. Yeah,
in the same vein.
I was thinking.
Interesting.
I like this. We're gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna ask you if a keyword reminds you of anything else. It's gonna be great. 2017. Here we are. Leaving 2016 in the past. I'm over it. I hate it. 2017. Let's get it.
All right. So Wow, that was a robust entry into this episode. So to start the
Let's see how many times we can say robust this week. I think we're at 3.
That's going to be our plot keyword or whatever you call them.
Mm-hmm.
Robust. Okay, so we open on Tool Time working with a jackhammer. They're talking about earmuffs. They do some decibel examples, and this is the same joke that we've seen a few times with, like, he shows Indy after a few pictures of impressive architecture. So he does decibel examples with some tools, and then the last picture is like an opera singer, and he makes a reference to his mother-in-law. So that's the first Nana joke that we get right away. Al, then they go on to use the jackhammer, and Al puts on his earmuffs. Tim can't really get through to Al, so he starts making jokes. He says his fly is down, he's fired. He starts talking to the women who are watching the show, which we've kind of established should be no one. But he does so anyway and starts, I guess, undermining Al.
Let me ask you this. Can Al hear Tim or no?
Yes, I would say
he can.
I think so, based on what he does at the end of the scene, where
what does he do?
So he ends up plugging in the jackhammer, and it starts going off, and he gives Tim a salute. So it seems like he did that all on purpose as payback to me.
It was an awkward kind of opening scene because Tim is kind of just he's doing his monologue, he's going on and on, making fun of Al, and it's being depicted that Al cannot hear. Then he plugs in the sledgehammer, and it just kind of awkwardly shakes, and then we cut. And there's not really a big laugh or a big payoff. It just kind of transitions into the opening credits. And I'm thinking these cold open segments, they're not really very good.
Well,
I wish they could do more, or they could end on a bigger laugh. I just feel like since the first cold open to start season 2, it's just, I don't know. It's not really that impressive to me. I think they should just start with the opening credits.
Yeah, I mean,
because what does this serve later on?
This doesn't serve anything later on.
It only sets up one of 3 or 4 mother-in-law jokes that they'll continue to do to diminishing returns. So I don't,
Yeah, they don't get any better. I would say, I guess it's a little bit better than some of the post-credit scenes that they've done that are
not this week's.
Not this week's, of course.
This week's was fire.
We'll get back to that later.
No.
I guess I agree. This one in particular is bad. Like you said, usually when they do an accident like this, there's much more to come of it, at least, where
or it's an actual accident.
Yeah, he puts a hole in the
all
floor.
this does is the jackhammer starts rattling, and then it just we see the sequence. But in any case, the next scene we're back in the familiar living room, and Tim and Jill are moving boxes, or they're putting encyclopedias in boxes or trunks. Is that your understanding of it? It wasn't really clear to me what exactly was happening.
Well, I think
we know that Tim's mom gave them a bunch of encyclopedias.
So I think they're putting the encyclopedias on the bookshelf. And perhaps moving the other books, which
they have a lot of books in the house.
They do, and having encyclopedias in this episode immediately dates like this episode back to the 90s. But
right, did you ever do much with encyclopedias?
Yeah, I looked through them. I thought they were interesting.
We had a few in the house growing up. I didn't really ever look in them. I mean that definitely is a dated reference. I mean, obviously, like now you just hop online, but encyclopedias, I guess. I've heard of like the profession of a traveling encyclopedia salesman.
Yeah, that was
that's crazy.
Thing.
Just
door to door trying to sell like 20 books or whatever.
My dad has mentioned this before. They were just very, very expensive.
Yes, and you always you had to buy like A through K and then K through whatever. Yeah.
But Tim's mom gave him for free, so I mean that's a very selfless
Tim
act.
should be nicer to Nana. That's a pretty penny that she shelled over.
Well, that's Nana's Jill's mom though, and Tim's mom gave him the encyclopedias.
Oh, okay. I got the mothers mixed up.
Right. Yeah. So they're doing that. Randy enters, and he got the lead in the school play of Peter Pan. So
yeah.
I think the last time we saw Randy, he was struggling to catch a football, and it appears as though he's completely given up on that, and he's taken to the arts.
Yeah, ever since he was a shepherd in that play, he just knew he was destined for the theater.
Yeah, that's right.
And Jill is stoked about this.
He went from fumbling to flying, I guess you might say.
Nice.
Jill is psyched. She has a child that appreciates culture. And
Randy's mostly excited to miss social studies.
Indeed, yeah. Tim is as they're moving the books, Tim finds one of Jill's trashy novels. One of those dime store reads with like the muscled long hair Fabio type, and the shirt kind of half open. It's what I'm envisioning. And he kind of confronts her on that, and I guess it's sort of like a low budget 50 Shades of Grey, something along those lines.
Yeah, and she says that they're very well written, and so he goes on and this is kind of like when I tell you that my YA reads are sophisticated. You see through both of those statements, and Tim reads aloud a passage. And we learned that this is one of Jill's guilty pleasures, and it's the passage is, like you said, it's very like romance novel trashy kind of stuff that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I was wondering, what are your guilty pleasures? Do you have one that comes to mind? I'll tell you mine. I have one that.
Sure, go ahead.
I've kept it since probably like second grade. Is just the world of Pokemon, which kind of came back a little bit, but.
Are you talking a guilty pleasure in terms of literature or just in general?
Oh, I was just gonna say in general. I don't read a lot of Pokemon books.
I thought. Oh, your Pokemon. It's not a book.
No, I'm talking about like the Game Boy Color, and like the N64 games, and they used to have like all the old TV shows online, so I binged through those and played those every once in a while. Before it was cool again, all you young kids, whippersnappers,
yeah,
as I call them.
Guilty pleasure, I guess in terms of, I can only really think of it in terms of television shows. That's what immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
And there's a couple shows. I like Shark Tank. I think that's kind of a guilty pleasure. I know it's mostly kind of just fabricated and they edit it to make it look like it's really dramatic, but Shark Tank is one. Diners, the Guy Fieri diners, drive-ins, and dives. I really like that show a lot. I could watch that at any moment. And then I don't know that. I think House Hunters is not just a guilty pleasure. I think it's just a genuine pleasure.
Oh yeah,
I love House Hunters. So I guess that's not a guilty pleasure because I feel absolutely no remorse for enjoying that.
No.
So yeah, give me Trip D's as the primary guilty pleasure there. I love. I think everybody gives Guy Fieri give him a lot of flack, but you know what? No one else could host that show.
I can't say anything because I've never watched it, but
it's good. It's premium entertainment. You talk about the golden age of television. You think of Breaking Bad, Mad Men, and Trip D's.
That's exactly what's on there. This trunk that we talked about earlier, it kind of turns into a competition. Tim. He's feeling a little bit emasculated by these books, so he decides that I'm going to carry this super heavy trunk all the way to the garage. And so he struggles to the garage door and kind of feels victorious or looks victorious to Jill. And then he continues into the garage where he has pulled his groin and he's like dancing and feeling the pain. And Mark's inside and he wonders if his dad has to go to the bathroom, what's going on. Mark starts to go get Mom because he learns about Tim being hurt, and so she takes care of that when he's hurt, but Tim stops him. I also noticed that the hot rod that Mark is sitting on has got some work done to it since we've seen it last. It's now like this dark green, and it has some nice tires on it, so it looks like since we've last seen it, Tim has done some work.
I loved how Mark was just sitting in the garage alone with the door shut.
Just cruising.
The writing truly is on the wall for what happens to Mark later in the series and how he's just such an oddball and outcast. If you just consider the fact that he's just hanging out in there alone, no one else. For all we know, the lights were probably off too, which is very strange.
He does that later on too, doesn't he? Because Jill finds him in there by himself, right?
I guess the older the brothers get, the more Mark is kind of on his own. Yeah, Tim is prompted to kind of move the trunk based on Jill kind of saying that he used to be stronger and how perhaps the protagonist of the trashy novel, the 21-year-old could do it, and Tim is putting on weight and maybe not as strong as he used to be. And I think that's kind of the catalyst for him lifting the trunk. But yeah, he does. He pulled his groin, and that is a problem throughout the rest of the episode.
I've never pulled my groin, but I imagine that would hurt.
I hadn't either. I couldn't really relate. I don't know that. Must be it's a a problem that is sort of inherently steeped in becoming a little bit older, I suppose.
Perhaps.
But,
So we ought to be careful as we continue.
I guess so. As we near 30.
Did you ever get injured playing football or anything? Like break an arm or?
I broke my arm in 5th grade, but nothing serious. Like as I got older, I think the biggest issue for me in high school was it's kind of gross. I kept getting fluid in my knee.
Oh yeah.
So I was just like really.
So you just had to get it drained all the time, or what?
Yeah, it just had to get drained. It sounds grosser than it actually is, but yeah, it was just like a big puffy kind of I don't need to get much more into it, but that was the biggest injury that I had in high school football. The arm breaking was like I said, 5th grade. What about you?
I've had back spasms since like 7th grade summer or going into 8th grade. So those have kind of come on and off. Like one time I threw out my back making the bed. Like you just never know when your back is going to go out. So that's really annoying because then I like just have to lay down and I'm all locked up.
You hate laying down.
Yeah, I hate it. It's the worst. I would say this isn't necessarily like something that I hurt myself doing, but I had kidney stones. I've had those 3 times, and those are the worst. So
I like how you asked me if I ever had a sports injury, and then it ends up just you having kidney stones.
Well, I just thought that, like, I was thinking of like pain that might relate to that, and anytime that pain is seared into my brain.
That's what everyone says. It's just the worst thing. Like it's the worst pain. It's the most god awful pain you could have. And you've had it 3 times.
It's fun.
Yikes.
It's a fun thing to
awful.
have. So, another place.
Speaking of pulling down your pants,
perfect.
Tool time set. Tim has Al stand in front of him and kind of block him as he pulls down his pants to check his bandage, and that is a sexual harassment suit just waiting to happen.
Especially when Lisa comes around.
Right, yeah. Tim notes that he's going to have to change the format today because he went to the doctor and he said there's going to be no lifting, so Al's going to have to do everything. Al quips, what's different about that? They head out to the show starts. When Tim mentions, do you ever feel like your groin is on fire? And Al says, every night, Tim, which made me wonder what happened to Greta. Obviously, things haven't progressed as he would have hoped. Obviously not. She doesn't appear in any more episodes, so must be... I mean, that whole episode was pretty bizarre, how Al ripped open his shirt in the car and just kept driving. I'd probably, if I were her, I wouldn't want to go out with Al a second time.
They did agree to start over, though.
Yeah, well,
you just never know. Something probably happened like that.
The lies we tell ourselves, right?
Sure.
The show begins. They're making concrete. Concrete is men's Play-Doh. There is lots of talk of concrete. Al is kind of taking charge, but I guess Tim becomes jealous, or he just kind of wants to have the attention back on him, and he steals the spade from Al and then begins to make jokes about Al's mother's cookies that he notes were like cement. And Al gets fed up with it and he throws the bag of mix to Tim. Tim falls and we go to commercial break. So Al's fed up of Tim's nonsense and he kind of gets him back there, and it's big laughs.
Yeah, that's the second time that he's gotten him back this episode if you count the jackhammer stuff. So
indeed. And groin pains continue.
They sure do. So at home, Tim is on the couch in the most ridiculous pants we've seen in a while. Brad and Randy come down with his Peter Pan costume, and Randy hates the costume. Brad is calling him a sissy. And I was wondering, what did they think this Peter Pan costume would look like?
Yeah, that's exactly what I wrote. Yeah, what did Randy expect? It's not as if Peter Pan is some new character. It's something definitely grounded in the culture. So if he'd ever seen a Disney representation or just anything in media, he should have known what the costume was going to be like. So yeah, I didn't understand that at all because it's to a T. It's exactly what Peter Pan.
Yeah, it looks like Peter Pan
has looked like, and
I thought it was a good costume. So,
you love Disney. You would just like to wear that costume, kind of just hanging around the house.
Who says I don't already?
Yeah, fair to say.
So Tim
that's why you don't want to do the Periscope recordings, because you don't want anyone to see
nobody needs to see that. Yeah. So Tim says that all superheroes wear tights. He's trying to, make Randy feel a little bit better about this. And Randy goes on to say that he also has to prance instead of fly, which reminded me of the prancercising video on YouTube, if you've ever seen that.
I have not.
You do yourself a favor and go ahead and Google that. So yeah, Tim is shocked by this notion of Randy prancing. He says men don't prance, and they talk about how they aren't able to make him fly. So that gives Tim the idea that he could make Randy fly, and we know where this is going. I think.
Right. Randy notes that no one can build proper equipment. No one, and then Tim, a couple of eyebrow raises, and yeah, exactly. You know where it's headed, and you also can kind of guess at this point how the episode's gonna end. and I ended up being right. So Jill enters, and she needs help with the groceries, and Tim he's gonna come clean and tell her, hey, I actually did hurt my groin moving that trunk. I was wrong to have done that, whatever. But then Jill, and this is really probably the finest example of Home Improvement After Dark.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is to a T.
She was, and I don't know, she was sort of turned on.
Yeah,
by
let's
Tim's...
let her explain how she was.
You're right. Yeah, let's go ahead and play a clip here.
Oh,
I'm home.
honey.
Hi.
Hi.
Are the kids home?
Randy just went upstairs.
Oh. You want to help me with the groceries?
Jill, I want to tell you something. Yesterday when I lifted that trunk.
Oh, wow, that is so weird that you mentioned that, because I have been thinking about it all day. Well, I know that I told you not to do it.
And you're right.
And I know that I'm supposed to be way past this. It's kind of embarrassing, in fact, but I gotta tell you.
I know what you're gonna say.
It really turned me on.
Huh?
Hey, Mom, is it okay if I go to Tommy's?
Please. When you heave that trunk up onto those powerful arms, and I saw those muscles rippling, I thought, whoa, that is no boy. That's my man.
Where are we going?
I'm going upstairs.
Upstairs? Okay.
Tim,
What is it?
carry me.
Yeah, so Jill is feeling kind of Randy, and I'm not talking about Randy, her son. So
No, in fact, she shoos him away.
I thought that Randy came down the stairs kind of fast. He changed out of his Peter Pan clothes pretty quickly, and he's on his way to Tommy's. And Jill's ready to go upstairs, and then we get, just as Al threw the bag of sand or the mixed cement stuff on Tim, Jill wants to be carried and tries to jump into his arms, and the same result happens. So we've seen that twice already. This is an episode of a lot of things happening multiple times. There's multiple Nana jokes, the catching of something heavy while he's hurt, all that kind of stuff. It just kind of happens over and over again. But we continue this.
Did this seem kind of out of character for Jill? A little bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's embarrassed by it. You kind of hear about it. But
yeah, she says his muscles rippling just really got her going, and she's. I thought her delivery when Randy says, can I go to Tommy's house, and she says, please. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I laughed. I thought this was the best scene.
A funny Patricia Richardson scene here.
Yeah, I think she does a good job. So we continue the scene at home. Tim is now hurt, and he's trying to blame this on Jill, jumping on him. She goes to find an ice pack, and she goes into the garage where she finds
Mark the
Narc doing what he does. He shows her where it is. Apparently, Brad made a parachute out of it for a cat that didn't work.
Such a stupid joke. And then, what? It's as if they just had that joke, just kind of waiting to use it. And they kind of shoehorned it in there.
Well, yeah, and Mark goes on to say, he's sad.
It didn't work. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, so dumb. Yeah.
That's probably the same cat that we ended up using for Jasper Geppetto-Brasky. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yep, callback.
Yeah. So Mark spills the beans as he does, with some coaxing of Jill. She says,
very little coaxing.
Very little, but she shuts the door so Tim can't hear, and she's kind of playing Mark here, saying, "Oh, I forget, how exactly did your dad hurt himself?" And Mark says the trunk, and she goes back inside, and now she wants to play Tim for a fool. She lays it on thick, saying that he really needs to take it easy. He can sit at home and watch football all weekend and all this kind of stuff. And then she comes over and puts ice in his pants to get him back. So,
see, I thought she could have maybe went with the charade a little bit longer. I thought there was going to be more of this kind of...
Like later on in the episode?
Yeah, like Tim kind of trying to guilt her into feeling bad because she jumped into his arms and her thinking it's her fault. And then Tim kind of just, having it easy, just kind of relaxing. But they abandoned that pretty quickly. And I think the episode maybe would have been better had the concept kind of gone further. But
yeah.
She puts the ice down Tim's pants, and that's essentially the end of it.
Yeah, instead they want to focus more on, like, the flying stuff that Tim does later, which is too bad.
And it's really great that they do, because it really pays off well.
So outside, I think this is probably the next day or something, Tim is working on his pulley system, and Wilson is there. And I suppose we should play our patented Wilson clip.
I suppose we should.
Howdy ho, neighbor.
Hey, Wilson.
And what are you doing over there?
Oh, I'm designing a pulley system to fly Randy for a school play. Playing Peter Pan.
I notice you're hobbling there, Tim.
Yeah. I pulled my groin muscle trying to lift this trunk for Jill.
Ow, Chihuahua. Well, if you needed help, why didn't you call me?
Oh, wanted to show her that I could do it myself.
Oh, I see. After all this time, you still want to impress your bride.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Jill and I have been married for 13 years.
14.
14 years, I still try to show off for her now and then.
I think what you did had a certain nobility. You see, Tim, you were being a peacock.
Yeah, that's good, huh?
Oh, yes. You were trying to impress your peahen by displaying your plumage.
God, I pulled the heck out of my plumage.
What's really bothering you, Tim?
That's nothing. Well, Wilson, I'm confused. I'm carrying this trunk of books, and I find out she likes these books about all these guys with rippling muscles, so I wanted to, show her my rippling muscles. And these guys end up carrying women off upstairs to ecstasy, and I pull a groin muscle.
Well, Tim, I think you've got something over these young guys.
You do?
Uh-huh. Yes, it's best summed up in an ancient Chinese proverb. It goes, "Wei da qing fu, bu xiu xin, nai bu tong nu xin."
Wait, is that Peking dialect?
I am so sorry, Tim. It may lose a bit in the translation, but it goes, "A great lover is not one who romances a different woman every night. A great lover is one who romances the same woman for a lifetime."
That's something to think about, isn't it? Is there anything you don't know, Wilson?
I don't know.
So, Jordan, there's nothing that Wilson doesn't know.
Or he doesn't know if he doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know if he doesn't know, which is a play on words. Wilson notes that it's noble. He cites an ancient Chinese proverb, which a great lover romances one woman for his entire life as opposed to a different woman every night. And Tim takes it and runs, and we are on to the next scene. It's your standard Wilson feedback. He's helping Tim out, and Tim is going to use that to his advantage in his own kind of terms later on in the episode. So, did you like Wilson's advice here, Jordan? Was it good?
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as
as good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, he built Tim back up when Tim was feeling pretty bad, and so that's all you can really ask out of a neighbor. So later on, they're outside again. Tim is with the boys, and Brad, of course, is wearing a Lion shirt. That's all he does. So he's got a different one on this time, though. It's not the one that says like what size of the shirt they're wearing. It's not that gray one. It's a blue one. So he's upgraded a little bit.
I'm retiring the Lion just recovered a fumble.
Oh,
sorry.
Well, I think you should at least go until the end of football season.
Sorry, I can't do it. It's a resolution of mine to retire that bit.
Well, we'll talk more about the resolutions later.
It's stale. And also they're wearing just too many Lion shirts. It's one thing when you're saying it once every 4 or 5 episodes, but Brad has been wearing a Lion shirt for the better. I mean, this entire season.
I would have never guessed that it would be in every episode.
Yeah,
But yeah, he tells Randy that Peter Pan is a girl's part. He's using that encyclopedia that was given to them earlier. Tim is
which is just what Grandma would have wanted.
Yep.
You know,
boys making fun of each other. So yeah, Tim is tied into his flying system that he made. They make another Nana joke here, saying that they could fly even something as big as Nana. Brad is chosen to operate the pulley, and they fly Tim here. So we see again that
Brad must possess superhuman strength to be able to lift his. Like, Brad is a little boy lifting his 175.
You just don't know how physics works.
Father, I know enough to know that he couldn't have done that.
Sure, he could have.
Brad could have lifted his father.
Oh yeah, you just have to have the right pulleys and counterweights in place. Let's go ahead and test this. You go ahead and get in there. I'll pull you. We'll see what happens.
All right. I don't know. I definitely don't know anything about pulleys, but I do know a little bit about gravity, Jordan. And I don't think that adds up. But hey, I am no Sir Isaac Newton.
I guess we have our question of the week, but the poll, I suppose, for this week.
A pulley pull.
A pulley pull. Tim is flying. We see again that Tim is semi-competent because he's able to pull this off. Then Jill shouts down from the upper window, wondering what's going on. Tim gets the idea that he's going to fly up to her and make his apology. So
it's a real Romeo-Juliet vibe here.
It sure is. And they fly up. It gets all the boys this time. They need all the boys to pull them that
This
high.
was, for my money, one of the worst visual special effects of the series thus far.
Yeah, like you're talking about the background.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
Yeah, so we get a new set here for a moment, the window set, so we kind of see in the Taylor bedroom a little bit different.
The window itself is fine.
It's when you see the background.
It's the sky that they use. Yeah, it's
like a pulled wallpaper,
a Tuscan sunset or something. Yeah, it's crazy.
They've obviously never been to Michigan. It's very cloudy there a lot of the time.
That's true. Yeah.
So they apologize at this moment. An ice cream truck comes, which they mentioned a few times before in this scene to set that up. And the boys let go of the rope. Tim falls and would probably die here, but instead he just breaks his arm.
Which would be a serious accident. We got to see if this tracks, because I have a feeling next week we're going to see Tim with the sling off.
Yeah, a week later he's fine.
So the final scene of the episode here, and they've done this time and time again, where they don't show me the scene that I actually want to see. You know, it's just like when Jill made that speech or the Christmas play. They come back home after the play and we find out that Randy just killed. I mean, he just brought that place down from, cheers were coming in from all angles. He
probably got an encore. He had to do a special scene by himself or something. Who knows?
I wish once they would give me a scene that they've been promising and developing and setting up the whole episode. I wish we'd get to see that at the end.
You're gonna have to keep waiting.
Yeah, I guess so. This is where we see Tim in the sling. Tim notes to Jill that he is all healed and he's feeling better. Wink, wink. Time to have sex. And
now we get another Home Improvement After Dark.
Oh yeah.
I did want to mention before this, like at the very, Randy does mention that Jennifer, I'm assuming Jennifer Zdarsky, was looking at him.
Yeah, and he's kind of feeling good about it, but then Brad says that she just liked his tights.
Yeah, which I'm not sure. I mean, this kind of tracks what you were saying, how that Randy's a little bit jealous of the female attention that Brad gets.
I'd say.
Yeah, so it just continues into season 2 here. As you said, time for them to go upstairs. Jill goes upstairs first. Tim is to lock up, and then apparently breaks his back.
He drops something?
No, he's trying to pick up Randy's Peter Pan hat that was on the ground.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Tough episode for Tim.
Yeah, he's not doing well. Not at all. We get one final scene.
Best scene of the app.
It's not related to anything that happens in the episode, and I'm pretty sure it's not related to the episode.
What makes you say that?
It looks more like maybe after the season finale, and I suppose we should explain what's happening. It's
Why?
just all the characters.
You can explain it, but I have a question about that.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
all the characters are coming out, and they're the crowd is clapping.
I think that they do this. This is what they would do every week.
Why are they all wearing different clothes than what they wear during the episode? Like, I'm sure you want to talk about what Brad's wearing.
Yeah, I mean, but I do think that this is something that this is like standard live television fare.
Okay.
Like, this is what, they have the live studio audience, they do the scenes, and at the end they bow and they get their round of applause. I suspect they do this every week.
Okay, I was just confused because...
I mean, I know they did this every week on Seinfeld, and I assume that this is something that they do every week on every show. It's just like... I do think that it is... I guess it is probably from a different episode because Randy... is like all
dirty.
He's dirty, yeah.
Al has a different flannel shirt on. Tim has a different shirt on. Brad is wearing the most ridiculous
I don't
outfit.
think they would necessarily have to be wearing clothes from the episode. I think that this could just be their...
Why would Al change
their
from
own
one
clothing.
flannel to another flannel?
I don't know. But I don't think this would have to be their clothing in the episode. I think they could change before they take a bow. I don't think that's incomprehensible. But the fact that Randy is all muddied up would indicate maybe it's from the football episode recently or something along those lines. So probably is something they cut. But yeah, they come out, each one comes out, they kind of run through the living room set and they kind of take a bow. So we got Al first, then we got Wilson, he's holding up the fence. That's, I guess it's funny. I don't know. Audience seem to be digging it. And then Mark runs out, just flailing his arms. And
yeah, he gets the least amount of claps, too. Poor guy.
As you would expect.
I would say that Randy got one of the loudest cheers.
Randy walks out like a boss.
Yep.
And then he salutes the audience. like he's some kind of just like a trained thespian, like, hey, yeah, I got you guys. Like as if, yeah, he's really doing him a favor. He's not lacking in confidence. Brad runs out. Perform a visual analysis on Brad's outfit, Jordan.
He's got a really, probably a shirt that's 4 sizes too big for him. He's got a
Chicago Bulls shirt.
Yeah, Chicago Bulls shirt. He's got a hat that's like sideways and backwards at the same time. So it's
right.
It's I'm assuming his pants are too big. I don't remember what his pants looked like, but yeah, he's like in the very 90s hip hop garb.
He does a little dance, kind of, when he gets to the end, sort of shimmies, and then he joins the line, and then Jill comes out, and then Tim comes out, and when Tim comes out, there's a big applause and kind of some grunting and so on, and I wish they did this every week. I really wish every episode ended with this, because this was considerably more enjoyable than anything else they've ever done.
And yeah, it's better than most of the outtakes that they do, for sure.
For certain. Yeah, for certain. All right, and that's the episode, Jordan.
That's it.
Groin Pains.
Highs, lows, thoughts. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I suppose I liked this more than I should have. I mean, there weren't really any stakes, and maybe I was colored by the fact that we haven't talked about Home Improvement for a while, and I just missed talking about it with you. Maybe it's because I just finished Man in the High Castle, and that was a bit more serious, and I needed something more lighthearted, but yeah, I thought it was decent. Not a ton of fighting in this episode like we're used to, which is good. We're used to just Tim and Jill just fighting the whole time, so it's not quite the animosity that we're used to there. I liked a couple of the small moments, like when Al tossed the sandbag at Tim and Jill tried jumping into his arms. I thought Patricia Richardson's acting in that scene where she's like turned on was really good. You mentioned that earlier. I thought that was great. We had a new set that was both good and terrible at the same time. I don't know if I'm sick of Mark the Narc yet, but he certainly did that again. I didn't like the fact that they did like a bunch of mother-in-law jokes again. And they also used that same like marriage joke where Tim says it's 13 and it's actually 14 years, and actually Wilson knows it's been 14 years, and then Jill mentions it later on. So a couple of like recycled jokes that I didn't enjoy as much, but I don't know, it was fine. I enjoyed it more than I should have, probably.
Yeah, I think you definitely enjoyed it more than I did. I have not. The second season to me is just not
as good as the first so far.
Not been as good as the first season, to be sure. This is the 4th episode of season 2, and I say none of them are real spectacular. I guess the things that I enjoyed were few and far between. The scene where Jill is kind of turned on was funny. I got a genuine laugh out of that. Other than that, though, yeah, the jokes here weren't especially crisp. We didn't... In terms of the physical humor, Tim falling when he gets the bag of mix thrown was pretty good. I would have liked to have seen him fall, or like to have seen Jill jump into his arms and hurt. I feel like we were kind of cheated out of that, so I'm not gonna praise that a ton.
Yeah, she probably just jumped into like a soft mattress.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark's stuff, yeah, is again getting a little played out. Not much for Brad to do. Randy's Peter Pan thing was fine. The pulley stuff at the end was pretty cheesy. I don't have a lot positive. Just that scene with Jill. I suppose this was a good Patricia Arquette episode. That I will say. Beyond that, this one was kind of cheesy and a little bit dull to me.
Yeah. Did you say Patricia Arquette?
I did. I keep thinking. Patricia Richardson. Sorry, Patricia Arquette. No,
I don't remember her.
I want to talk about Patricia Arquette's acting in Boyhood. No, she was not in this one. Yeah, Patricia Richardson's acting was good and some good comedic timing. So yeah, good on her.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I guess that leads us into the mailbag segment.
You've got mail.
This question comes to us from Awesome Sauce on Twitter. Awesome Sauce says, "At Home and Podcast, not an HI question, but what are your guys' New Year's resolutions?" So, Jordan, what are your resolutions this year?
I'm glad that she asked, because I tried to ask you the same question or talk about sharing these, and you were not interested, and now you have to. So,
to me, sharing your New Year's resolutions is a little bit like sharing, like you can't tell someone what you wish for on your birthday because then it won't come true. So if I tell everyone my resolutions, I think that the likelihood of me following through on them lessens. But for the sake of this podcast, there's nothing I won't do, so I will share mine.
I think you have other people to hold you accountable, so... Not that they usually do. All right, well, I'll go first. I have a couple written here. I've got different avenues in my life that I want to cover.
Choose just a few avenues.
Just
okay?
a few. I've got several avenues.
Not every avenue needs to be discussed. So go ahead.
As you know, I like to read. Last year I had a goal of reading 24 books. This year I've upped it to 40. And I also included something that you mentioned before. You said that when you watched a movie, I think, or read books, that you used to write like a short little note about how you felt about the episode.
Yeah, I do it for both.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that this year. Because I used to just write down, like, the book and when it was read. And maybe this will help me remember a little bit more about them. I would like to lose some weight, so I'm looking to drop 15 pounds. So far, I've ran a couple times this year. Went for a couple of bike rides, so we're off to a good start.
15 pounds. 15 pounds is substantial.
I'm telling you.
Have you beefed up since I last saw you?
Not that much, but just looking to get fit.
Sure. Okay.
I like to start my mornings, like usually I'll wake up and start by looking at my phone, so I'm trying to get away from that. So I'm trying to start by either reading my Bible a little bit or doing something like that. Even just doing anything but checking my phone, basically. Okay. And then I want to do something surprising or expected for my wife at least once a month. So I don't know what that's going to be yet, whether it's flowers or taking her on a date that she doesn't expect, whatever it is. That's a couple things. I thought about doing one writing-wise, but I didn't end up doing one. But we kind of ended up teaming up on something, so I guess you can talk about yours.
We got our own stuff going on.
Yeah.
My resolution is to surprise you with something every month and take you out on a date that you...
That's going to be hard to do from our geographical distances.
That's why I didn't want to say it out loud, because I didn't think it would come true.
Oh.
My resolutions, in terms of this podcast, I noted I'm going to stop with the line, "I just recovered a fumble" joke. I am trying to eliminate the repetitive words that I say time and time again, although I think in terms of that, I'm probably my own worst critic. Personal... I have recently rededicated myself to my own kind of journaling. So I got one for Christmas, and I've been filling that out, so I've been doing well with that. I am going to make a concerted effort to write more, whether it be blogging, kind of essay writing, personal essay stuff, and maybe some script sort of writing as well. So that's something I'm trying to make a cognizant effort to improve. I always want to, mature, become a better person, become a better man, become a better boyfriend, all of those things.
I thought you were going to do the
and
opposite.
This year's no different. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'd like to continue to grow. And yeah, I think that those are probably, but mostly, I just want to, not mostly, but I also want to be a better co-host to you, Jordan. Oh. And I think you
I don't think that's possible.
I think you should try to be a better co-host to me.
Well, that is possible.
That is possible. So yeah, thank you, Awesome Sauce, for the question. Jordan, if people want to get a hold of us or ask us questions or kind of, shove an envelope in the mailbag, how can they do so?
Yeah, maybe they even want to share their resolutions with us, because I think we can hold everyone accountable. We'll just tweet
This is a timely question as well, because this episode will come out midway through January. So
just when people are starting to fail at the resolutions.
Yeah, just when people are thinking, I don't want to go to the gym this Wednesday evening.
So, they can go ahead and reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/HomeandPodcast, our website, thehomeandpodcast.com. There's a couple of different ways to reach out on there. On Twitter, we're at HomeandPodcast, and you can email us, homeandpodcast@gmail.com. We're always looking for support on Patreon, or on our blog. There's a couple of support tab. There's a support tab on our blog. You can go ahead and click on to find more information there. So, no shortage of options to contact us.
No, certainly not. I guess that kind of leads us to the final question, Jordan.
Wait a minute, I bring that up usually.
Well, it's 2017. I think we're going to change the format.
All right, hit me with it.
All right. Final question is as follows. All right, so this episode is called. No, I need to think of a question actually.
So far, so good.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I got it. All right, so we just noted our resolutions and that it is a new year. So Jordan, what are some of your more fond memories from 2016? Everybody makes the joke, by 2016 is the worst, etc., etc. I'm not talking about that. I just want to know maybe what was good for you in 2016, what you enjoyed, or what stands out.
Well, I would say starting this podcast is definitely one of them. We started this back in May, I think, late May, early June of 2016. So that was turned out to be a fruitful endeavor for me and something I've enjoyed a lot. I had my first nephew from my side of the family was born, so he's been excited. I've been excited to get to know him and spend time with him a few times. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, I was spoiled on my birthday by my wife, and that was pretty awesome.
My wife.
I got to travel to a few new places. One of my resolutions last year was travel to 2 new places. So we went to DC. We went to Siesta Key. I got to go on a cruise with a friend. Go to the Bahamas. So I thought 2016 was a good year for me. I enjoyed it. Just a lot of different fun stuff for me. So. What about you?
Sounds really nice, Jordan.
I hope you had a good 2016.
I did. Memories for me. I graduated from grad school, and I started a new job. So that was different and exciting. Moved in with my girlfriend. We've had a lot of fun adventures here in the northern part of Illinois. Doesn't sound like an exciting area necessarily, but
life is what you make it.
We've seen a lot of nice sights and had a lot of fun locally, and good times with my family. Nice Christmas, nice birthday. I think it's been a real nice year. Made lots of good memories, and I expect 2017 to be just as good. And I hope all of your 2017s are enjoyable as well, and you continue to listen to podcasts, support us, and enjoy this artistic endeavor of ours.
Mm-hmm,
so.
Absolutely. So next week, we'll be back on our regular schedule every week. Every Wednesday, you'll be hearing from us, whether you like it or not. We'll be covering heavy metal.
Is that metal or metal?
MEDDLE.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
All right, well, looking forward to that next week. Thanks, Jordan, for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And I guess I should say take care.
Take care, everybody.